Welcome to another episode of Inspire People, Impact Lives. Today we have a real treat for you. I got special guest David Gilreath. And some of you know David from his time as a Badger. David left UW-Madison as the Big Ten's all-time leader in kickoff return yards, and is the only Badger Wisconsin player in history to score a receiving, rushing, punt return, and kick return touchdown. So boom. And hey, wasn't it just the anniversary? Was it like 10-year anniversary or something like that of that big opening kickoff return you had against Ohio State?
Yeah. Some things have some article I guess have come up lately, and photos and videos just of the return, and I can't believe it's 10 years ago. You know, people do remind me that it happened, so it kind of keeps a refresher. But it does. 10 years ago, I'm getting old real fast.
You're not that. No, you're not yet. But I remember seeing that on Facebook because I was at the game live, and man, that was exciting because that was a big upset win that we dominated from start to finish with your return. So that was great. So from there, David has gone on to transition to the NFL in 2011 as an undrafted free agent to the Indianapolis Colts, my wife's favorite team, David. He made stops in St. Louis, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Oakland, and ultimately spending 2 seasons with the Seahawks before retiring in 2015. After that, transitioned out of the league into a successful career, but it wasn't easy. It was a journey, and that's what we'll get to dive into today. So, David, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on the show. Be careful with me. You know, I'm fragile. You know, with the questions.
You got those football injuries now that catch up to you as you get older, like me and my back.
Yeah. I didn't have a lot of injuries, fortunately. You know, I didn't walk out. I didn't limp out the game. I pretty much, I would say I jogged out the game. So I feel pretty good about that.
That's good. That's not a lot of people can say that, right? So before we dive into today, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your background other than what I just read off?
Yeah, I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have 6 sisters and brothers. The oldest. So I got to set the example by default. I went on to the University of Wisconsin. I'm trying to think of what you guys don't know from what you read from that.
How about family life now and what you're doing now?
Yeah. So I'm currently with the Wisconsin Badgers in the admin department. Development officer is my official position, but I just got back there recently. I'm engaged. I'm actually engaged. So I have a fiance who appreciate it. She works here at NBC in Telemundo here in Chicago. So that's exciting, and you know, she's a star of the house. She's a star. You know, I just kind of follow her lead, and I trust her with things. What else? Sister just graduated from the University of Wisconsin. Her twin sister just graduated from the University of Minnesota. So I feel pretty good about kind of setting that example.
Got a Gopher and a Badger, the key rivalry.
Yeah, for sure. And my little brother went to the University of Minnesota as well. So he went around the same time I went to Wisconsin. So we kind of had that battle within the family dynamics, and then, you know, fast forward 9 years later, there goes my twin sisters, and they have that same dynamic. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So I want to go back a little bit further. You mentioned something to Chad that we found interesting. You know, you tell us a little bit about growing up in Minneapolis. You mentioned having a picture from 4th grade. Tell the audience and me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and I just spoke to my fiance about that, and I think it helped me. It helped shape, you know, the person I became. If you look at a 4th grade picture that I had, you see a white guy to my right, an Asian girl to my left, a black guy in front of me, a Puerto Rican dude, a guy over here, a Jewish woman behind me. You know, it really shaped my upbringing, and it helped me, you know, have a lot of empathy and understanding of different cultures, different people, different backgrounds, and it's crazy. As I looked around, I have thinking about the picture. I have a gay guy over to my left or my right, and, you know, Miss Ellison, I think, is older, middle-aged white woman, and it's just, the dynamics are just, you know, I realized how that's how I became, you know, the person I became, and just I can walk into any room and it just kind of I fit right in. I mean, I'm not sure if it looks wise, I fit right in everywhere, but it's, you know, I fit right in as far as, hey, okay, I've been around people like you, and you've been around, I just have a better understanding. So I think it really shaped who I became in a lot of different ways.
How do you see that play out today? I mean, with people that didn't have your experience, because I agree. I think it's, I played on I was blessed to play on a football team post college where I was the only white guy, and they just looked at me as the light-skinned brother. And and so it was interesting, and that shaped me in such a way where my worldview changed. And playing with a bunch of guys from the deep south of Louisiana, and just having a totally different experience in their culture and how they were raised versus how I was raised, and being able to share those insights with each other. What would you say to someone that possibly grew up more sheltered?
It's hard. I mean, the advice was just to open your circle up to different people. You never want to have the same type of like-minded people around you. I would say just different views, even if you disagree with them. It's healthy. I think it helped me a lot. And when I just say I walked into a predominantly Jewish home, and they're surprised that I know different traditions and everything like that I I shouldn't know, because hey, I grew up with this woman or this guy, it kind of opens up the door a little bit more, and it makes people feel a little bit more welcome, or I guess understood, I guess is the word. And hope I'm not repeating myself, but
no, it's all right.
Just hopefully just open your circle up a little bit more. I think it's healthy. Even my circle now, I just went to my boy's wedding, a Filipino guy. One of my good friends he's got a Muslim name. His name's Munir. White guys, one of my really good friends. It's just my circle is, it's just expanded. And I think that I don't know if that's been on accident or on purpose. I just think it's just how it's been over the years.
So that's really awesome. It made me reflect. So I have two sister-in-laws. So I'm the oldest of four. Similar to you, I was put into a leadership position by default as a child. Two younger brothers and a younger sister. My two younger brothers, one married a Vietnamese girl and one married a Colombian girl. And so I went to Cartagena, Colombia for my brother's wedding. I'm by myself traveling, and I'm in Panama, and I don't speak I speak a little bit of Spanish, not much at all. I cannot brag. So I can ask where the bathroom is. I can ask for a beer, and communicate very minimally. But being in that culture was amazing, seeing their culture and understanding and the worldview that it brought back to me. But what I really thought about as you were talking is when I was in California for my other brother's wedding, and she had some of her family her dad's family from Vietnam come, and two aunts of hers didn't speak a lick of English. And we just had our first son, our fourth child, and just the joy that they got, and just wanting to watch the baby and hold the baby while we were able to enjoy some of the wedding festivities. Again, like we communicate like just not verbally because we couldn't speak each other's languages, but we put that trust in them through the emotion that we felt, and the body language we felt with them, and holding our fourth born child. And I just feel like that having those experiences with other people of different cultures helps shape your worldview in such a different way.
Yeah. Most people want the same things. It doesn't matter what culture it is. They want to be successful. They're about their family and helping people. And it's like it doesn't matter where you go in the world. It's all about pretty much the same. People have the same mindset. Doesn't matter what language you speak.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And people, and again, we all crave that love and understanding. So David and I are speaking on Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day. So this is going to come out after Election Day, but I just hope that everyone today, regardless of the result, leans into love and understanding, because we're in an identity politics, highly contentious time. If we lean into love and understanding, I think we'll be much better off. So going back to that diversity piece, Wisconsin's had its trials and tribulations as far as rankings are concerned, and education gap and stuff of that nature, and the university's had its own issues. How are you bringing your understanding and worldview to the university to help UW-Madison become that premier spot for all people?
Yeah, I mean, I think just by me actually coming back to the program helps a lot with just that bringing something to the program, a little diversity to the program. But I think just I guess my worldview of seeing different things and like I said, understanding people. There's a lot of UW is pretty diverse. It's exchange students from all over, and actually, I guess now with things being virtually, the things, the enrollment has gone down a little bit for that. But I think just me bringing that diverse background of playing football, traveling the world, getting into business, and my skin tone, my religion, I think it's just it brings a lot to the table and able to speak to different people, and able to hey, maybe this person couldn't open this door and have a conversation with that student or that person in administration, but I can. Hey, let's have a conversation, and hopefully that helps. I'm not sure this answers your question, but hopefully that helps in the future.
No, it will. I guarantee it will. And just being the person that you are and being able to connect with different people, I mean, and having that seat at the table now is what's important to have those conversations.
For sure.
And I've seen that. So you've built a really successful career in sales and marketing. Where did that all start for you?
It's funny. I would say some people would say it started in the jewelry business that I was in, but I say it started, when I was 15 years old, trying to run around the city of Minneapolis trying to sell coupons. So in our high school, every year they would give us this book of coupons, that would give you discounts for local gas stations, restaurants, different businesses, and they were $20 they were $20 a packet. So the winner of that would get, I think the person that sold the most coupons would get $75. I think the second most would get $50. Third most would get something. So every year, that's how I found a way to get Madden, the video game. That's how I ran around town. I said, hey, I wasn't going to ask my mom to go get a $60 game. I said, I'm going to run around town. And it was, to me, I liked it. I loved it, actually. So I used to run around town until it was dark. They gave it to us at 5 o'clock, and you got to figure out a way to, I think it was maybe a couple of days they gave you, but I would get it done that day. But I used to run around and I would see no soliciting signs at the time, and I had no clue what that meant. So I would walk right past it, I would say, so no soliciting meant nothing to me. So I would walk right past it. At the door, I knock and everything, had my little, my script that worked for the last house that I sold, and it went from there. So that's where it started with my sales career. It was pretty lucrative. $75 would get me Madden.
That's right. And you had a motivation. You had that carrot put out there for yourself because you really wanted that game. So that motivated you to get the job done.
Sure.
I believe that kids make the best salespeople because they're not concerned about what others think of them. They're just trying to get the job done, either because an authority figure told them they had to, whether that was your coach or not, or you had that motivation of getting that Madden video game.
Yeah, and we spoke about that as far as having that that adventure mindset and I would say kiddish mindset of you're not seen as responsible if you make decisions like that, as far as doing things that other people aren't doing and are advised not to do. You kind of looked at as irresponsible, I would say. But hey, I didn't know, like I said, no soliciting didn't mean anything to me at the time. So maybe a little bit of ignorance, kind of all combined with my adventure and resilience and all that stuff, and it helped. It helped. So that just helped. My foundation of sales. I didn't know much else. So
it helps you overcome objections. It helps you learning to hear the word no and being able to accept that and not feel like you're a lesser person. Because it wasn't about you. They were saying no to the product. They weren't saying no to you, David Gilreath. They were saying, no, I'm good on the coupons. No,
for sure. And I thought I learned that at a young age. They weren't saying, it wasn't anything personal. Even if they were saying no to me, I seen it as they were saying no to the product. Maybe my verbiage was off. Maybe my presentation was off. Maybe I didn't have the right, counter to the objection at the time. Little things that I learned just in that little brief 2 hours of running around the town. It took me, took me to different places, and that's kind of where it started. But I guess we'll take it to the next part of personal training being my next sales experience.
Yeah, we'll get there. I want to give some context and some good insights for the students and the student athletes.
Mhm.
So for them that might be listening, and I know this is going to get directed out to them as well, what would you tell them to take advantage of while they're in school? Maybe some regrets you have, and maybe some things that you're like, man, you got to do that because I did it and this is how it worked out.
Yeah, and I use my sister as an example. She just graduated from UW, and I would say, and I said this before to Chad, she was kind of my test dummy for, hey, the things that I didn't do right, that I would say, hey, these are things you can now kind of take advantage of while you're in school. And I would say is, leveraging where you're at. UW is your biggest resource, or whatever school you're at is your biggest resource at that time. So if you have to take advantage of your career fairs, because companies are coming in there directly to take you out and hire you. That you have a pipeline there. Career fairs, studying abroad, your tutors, your advisors, all these people that are put in place to help you. Your career advisors, they're put in place to directly help you, because the second you walk out of that school, you're kind of like a dinosaur. They're not gonna. You're old. You're done. They're gonna help the next wave of students. So you should take advantage of the place you're at, and that doesn't matter. That could, I guess that could go for any company you're at, any organization, any team you're at. So make sure you take advantage of your resources while you're there. So that's what I had my sister do. She studied abroad. She did the career fairs. She talked to the tutors. She took internships. You have to take an internship. The things you have to do. We're talking to college students, right?
Yeah. So your sister played basketball, right?
Yeah, she just graduated. Yep, in communications. Class
I met your
2020.
sister at a career fair.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not making this up.
No, you're not. She did a good job. She was very personable. She was doing her rounds. She was finding out what appealed to her. She was great.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you say that, because I didn't know for sure if she did it. I know I advised her to do it, but I know she's even if they don't listen to me, they see the things that I've done and accomplished, and they at least know I know what I'm talking about somewhat. So
yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the things that you said there is leveraging resources. There's never been a time in history where we've had more resources at our fingertips. I think most colleges have had for at least decades career advisors, and especially on the student athlete side, creating more resources available. And that's one of the things that I know universities continue to leverage more and more, because that's part of the recruiting game, is the resources that are available. So whether you're a student athlete or not, I mean, you're a Google search away from being able to know whatever you want to know, should you ask the right question to the algorithm, right? So you can find out anything and go deep page 6 on Google to find out really a lot of information that most people won't. Wikipedia took over encyclopedias, and no one thought that was possible, right? And so it's interesting to see that people say, well, I'm not where I want to be because of X, and it's some excuse.
Yeah.
And we have nowadays all of these resources at our disposal, should you take advantage of them. And this is speaking from someone that is a college dropout that did not leverage the resources in college appropriately. You did, and you're telling your sister to, and she did. So like, you have these experiences. So take it from us, like these career counselors, these advisors, and they may not tell you all the time what you want to hear, but you're taking information in from them and being able to decipher what's appropriate to you and what's not appropriate to you. So make sure you leverage. Oh, and as a student athlete, you have resources like people like me that hire and are always looking to hire, that come to career fairs. Even if you're not interested in a career with me, come have a conversation with me and ask me, well, how did I get to where I got?
Yeah, the network. And I think that's important. You have to be able to network, even if, you're not there specifically looking for that job. That person may know somebody else that can, hey, he wasn't the right fit for me, but I think I have so-and-so, Jane or John over here that I think that'd be a perfect fit. And I've seen that happen plenty of times. Just having that conversation with a company, a person, you never know where that could take you. And I'm a personal testimony of that. Do it. You have no excuse not to do your research on a company, a person. These days, as you go into as you walk into a building.
Agreed. And you can strike up a conversation with someone in an elevator. In Chicago, where you got a probably 5-10 minute elevator ride, and you could strike up a conversation and you could learn something that morning.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's for sure. I think people have to be, and I guess that's my advice for that. You can't be scared to have a conversation. You just never know who these people are, who they know, or just, what they can advise you on. It's endless if you just have, the communication skills they have to be there. So.
Yep. Or here's another piece of advice. I know that, in college, you're not necessarily, you don't have much money. I was a broke college student. I remember that. But we can all afford typically a cup of coffee. And if you could buy someone a cup of coffee that you respect, say, hey, could I pick your brain over a cup of coffee? And you come prepared with questions. There is not many successful people that will turn that down from a ambitious college student because they remember where they came from.
For sure. And a lot of people want to tell their story and they want to talk, and, most people want to talk about themselves. So that's, hey, ask a few questions. They'll start to, ramble on. You realize that you have a lot more in common than you think. So.
Yep, absolutely. And especially for the student athletes, the Badger network is a very tight-knit network. And Badgers give back to Badgers. I've seen it over and over and over again, whether that's knowledge, resources, job offers. Utilize that network. Don't take advantage of it per se, but utilize it.
There we go.
So let's talk a little bit about your transition, or maybe some biggest takeaways from your time with the Badgers, transition to the NFL, and your takeaways from the NFL, and how those two experiences have helped you in your professional career now. So go back to college. What were some of the biggest takeaways? Then we'll transition to NFL and then to today.
Takeaways, looking back now, I wish I would have done the things I mentioned to you guys, a few moments ago. I wish I would have taken advantage of those, when I was there. So I didn't do that while I was there. I was fortunate enough to play in the NFL, so that kind of opens a lot more doors for you, and like I said, fortunate. If I didn't play, who knows where I would have, what I would have done from there, what doors would have been open or shut for me. So I think that playing in the NFL helped. But the UW alumni association, it's so powerful. And I know each city that I would go to, whether I was at the Steelers, the Colts, so I was in Minneapolis or Pittsburgh or Seattle, I would go on Facebook and I would say, where's the network here? They called them, at least in LA, they called them the Los Angeles Badgers. And I know they had the Pittsburgh Badgers. There's an association online, and I was in Hong Kong. They have the Hong Kong Badgers, of people that are in that city that are Badgers. So that they go watch basketball games. They have networking events, just kind of coffee time, and that's everywhere. So I would definitely take advantage of that. And that's something I continue to do today. So. Yeah,
in Chicago, I've been to the Badger Bar in Chicago.
Yeah,
I know in New York City there's a Badger Bar in New York City. So you're right, like getting on LinkedIn, these Facebook private groups, like leverage it and be able to form connections.
This is right before LinkedIn was kind of getting, pretty hot. Right now it's the mecca, but maybe 8 years ago when I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, Facebook, they had the groups, and they still have them, but LinkedIn wasn't as hot, and it's definitely the way to go now.
You told Chad a couple stories I wanted you to reference because I thought it was cool. Coach Chris, lesson on built up equity from his hard work.
Yeah, and thanks for reminding me of that. He so when I had an injury my junior year. I had stress fractures in my feet, and I had screws put in. This is in the off season, so it wasn't during the year. And I was in a rush to get back on the field. And Coach Chris had sat down with me, and he gave me a little lesson on, I guess, real estate, but or I guess any finance. He says, "Hey David, you don't have. There's some things you've done on the field your last 3 years that we would call equity. You built up a lot of equity here at Wisconsin that you don't have to go out here and prove anything anymore. You don't have to rush out here and do this. And you've built up value that that's not comparable, I guess. And so don't worry about it." And I just didn't understand. I was like, okay, well, I want to get back on the field, but as I look back now, he was telling me, hey, you've built up value here. Don't worry about the things that don't worry about trying to prove anything. And I realized how big equity is, and whether it's you're building a relationship with somebody, whether it's finances, whether you're starting an entry level position at X and Y company. You know, you're trying to build up equity there, and it's important.
No, I love that. So talking to a finance guy here, well, I want to leverage this in a couple different ways as you say this. If you were a freshman coming in, you didn't have that built up equity. Going into your senior year, you have built up 3 years of equity of talent and hard work put onto practice and on the playing field. That like, hey, you don't have to worry about your starting spot. Okay, I want to take that a different direction. If you and I are in a friendship and we've built up relational equity over the years, meaning we've done good things for each other, we've had each other's back, I've paid you compliments, you've paid me compliments, we have relational equity. Now I make a mistake, I break your trust in a small way, or you hear something that I said behind your back, and because we have that relational equity, you're going to take it as a grain of salt and maybe come ask me, hey, did you say this? I'll be like, hell no, I didn't say that. Who's, whatever. But you're going to, versus if we didn't have that relational equity and I say, you hear I say something behind your back, you might cut me off entirely because we didn't have those deposits over time.
Exactly.
Right. So relationships, much like whether it's real estate, equity, a starting spot on the team, there's deposits put in over the years that build up that equity. Okay. So if there's a withdrawal, meaning, a slight in a relationship, or you were injured and so there's a withdrawal, so there's just you're not able to put in the hard work and practice, or I didn't show up on time, or whatever it might be, when there's a withdrawal, if I have enough equity, that's not going to cause as much damage as if I haven't built up that equity over time. So there's a lot of different things that you can look at in your life. It's not just investments, it's not just real estate. There's a lot of deposits you're putting in on a daily basis that affect your equity in relationships, your job performance, and a million other examples we could use.
Yeah, and I do, and thinking back about it now, I remember him saying, you don't have to worry about rushing out here to act like you're tough and this and that. You didn't miss a practice. We knew you were injured here and there. Your integrity is not going to be questioned here. I remember him saying that to me. So that meant a lot to me at that time, because I didn't know that those 2 or 3 years when I wasn't missing practice, or I was getting out there and I was on time, or whatever I was doing, I was building up equity at the end of the day. So that meant a lot.
No, that's awesome, because I think people need to understand that they're building equity on a daily basis in all these micro relationships they have at work, at class, on the field, in their relationships with their family, their friends, everything. You're building up deposits of equity. So keep that in mind. That's great. How about that Desmond Howard story about showing personality?
Yeah. So the night before we played Ohio State, college game day setting up. Number one, Ohio State's coming to town, and we're on the field, and the receivers get a chance to stay behind, and they said we're going to bring on a special guest or a person. And here comes Desmond Howard. I've been watching him on TV for years before he was an analyst, and he was in Michigan. Well, maybe Michigan, I kind of remember the highlights, but I remember the return against the Packers, with the Packers in the Super Bowl. So I knew that. I'm like, this is Desmond Howard, crazy. And I'm thinking he's going to be this, tightened up guy. Everything was going to be, he was from around the way. He was a guy that just, he was like a teammate of yours. And they're setting up the zip cameras around, and it felt like a movie. And he goes, he comes to us and he says, hey guys, at the end of the day, you just want to show your personality. You want to be out there, and when you're on the field tomorrow night, you want to show your personality to the world, to the crowd, whoever's watching that day. That's what you want to do. And I take that, I think about that all the time when I walk into an interview, if I'm on a date, if I'm talking to a friend, I just want to show my personality. That's all I want to do. If I'm in a business meeting, at the end of the day, that's all you want to do. And I guess if a company doesn't like you for that, or a person doesn't like you for that, you can't do anything about it. But you want to show your personality, whether you're funny, serious. For me, it's a lot. You can tell I'm shy, really, really reserved. You can see it, but that's what you want to do. So I'd say that was 10 years ago. He gave me that advice, and I think about that a lot today.
And then you took it to the house on the first kickoff. So
yeah, I showed a little bit of my personality that day.
Showing some personality.
Yeah.
Run into the end zone. So I love that point. I think what I want to be really clear on is that you're showing your authentic personality.
Yeah.
because some people may hear what you say there and they may try and fake it, and people can read that so easily. So do not fake a personality, be you, and the people that are meant to be in your life will be attracted to you. The opportunities that come your way will be attracted to you, not showing some fake you. Like we have people take personality profiles to enter our career, kind of our interview process. And our interview process is a mutual fits selection process. So we're selecting you as much as you're selecting us. It's not a traditional interview process. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I see a weird profile, and I typically will ask the person how they took it. And most of the time they'll fess up at that point that they took it how they felt they thought we would want it answered. I'm not getting to know the real you. My job in this is to make sure that you are as much of a fit on your side of the table as we are on ours to you. And I got to understand if you're going to really make it in this career. Otherwise, I'm just setting you up for failure, and I don't want to do that. So I need to know the real you. So whether that's in a personality assessment, or if that's just in a one-on-one relationship with a person you meet at a bar or on the street, you got to be the authentic you. Otherwise, the right things aren't going to be attracted to your world.
Yeah, and that especially in interviews, you don't want to go on. Everybody goes on Google and Google's questions of what the interview, interview is going to be, the interview questions, and they have those scripted answers. And I think a lot of companies are doing a good job of like, let me just tell your story, and then we'll see how it relates to the position or whatever it may be. Because I used to do that at the beginning, just kind of have those scripted answers that I thought they wanted to hear. And then when I started to, tell my story, little things about the coupon, selling and things. It's like, okay, this guy has the traits that we're looking for based on the stories he's told us, and just showing his personality. So I thought that was important.
Awesome. Anything on the NFL side of things, life lessons taken away that have helped you now into your current position?
Life lessons in NFL. It's a good question. It was so short-lived. I mean, it was short and sweet. I would say short and wasn't bittersweet, but it was. It's a business. The NFL is a business at the end of the day. So the team is going to make the best decision for what they think is best for the team. So I think at the end of the day, you have to make the best decision for you. And I actually did that when I was in the NFL, and I sat down. I think I told this story to Chad about Greg Schiano. He was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the time, and so I was active on the Pittsburgh Steelers. A couple of games, they put me on practice squad. I got picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They told me a couple of things about activating me. They never did. They wanted to put me on practice squad. So I had a conversation with Greg Schiano, and he says, we want to put you on practice squad. I said, okay, cool. The next day, I got a call from about 3 different teams, including the Pittsburgh Steelers, where I had a chance to go back. And I said, well, okay, I think I'm going to, take that. My apartment's still there. I have relationships built there. I think I'm going to, I like the city, everything. I said, I'm going to make the best decision for me. Greg Schiano says, he brings me back in and said, hey, we just released the guy for you. We did this. You told us you're going to come back here. I said, things had changed, business-wise. People had offered different things. And, never play over in Pittsburgh and this and that. He told me, and I said, hey, I had to make the best decision. I didn't really realize I was doing this, but I have to make the best decision for me, at this time. And I think this is, not for the organization, not for PJ Fleck, who was the receiver coach with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the time. And, I said, I got to make the best decision for me. And I just thought that was important for me to stand my ground at that point and do that. Because a lot of people would not fold to that pressure, but the organization or for the company, and like, no, I think I got to make what's best for me. That's just one little story that I told that I learned a little bit as I kind of went on.
No, that's really good. I think that I have a story about how I got into this career and I never looked back, but I was a sales manager for Best Buy about 18 years ago, and I was really young, and I was outperforming most of my peers, including the district that are older than me, that were getting paid more than me. So I asked for a raise because I was whooping their ass month in and month out. And they told me no. And that really didn't sit well because I was always taught if you do better, you get more, right?
Yeah.
That's effort economy, right? So I was told no. I wasn't really given any good reasons. And so I started interviewing with Northwestern Mutual and saw that, oh, what I put in is what I get out. I want that for a world. I want that in my life. And so I quit at Best Buy, but I gave them 2 months because I wanted to be respectful to them and get them through the holiday season, not leave them without a sales manager. I showed up the next day and they said you could turn your keys in now.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, like, I felt like I had more integrity and respect for them than the corporation did for me. And it showed, in two different scenarios there, not seeing my worth as a person or as a valued employee, but then also, hey, you were that expendable that we could just, cut you the next day after you gave us 2 months, because most people give 2 weeks. I was trying to be ultra respectful and give 2 months, not to burn any bridges. And they're like, nah, you can go.
Yeah. You have to treat yourself like a business, just like they treat themselves. They are a business. So I think you have to do a good job of cutting the personal ties and the keeping your heart out of that situation and more thinking with your brain. I think I told Chad another story about my first year when I was coming out during the lockout, and throughout the draft process, I continued to get contacted by the Colts and during pro day, and and I thought, okay, I have a pretty good chance either getting a shot with them. I never thought I would get drafted because I've watched the NFL. I studied it for years as a kid growing up, and I said, there's no way, I've watched guys like me and they didn't get drafted. I just didn't think I put enough numbers up, and I was smaller. I said, no, I wouldn't draft me, but I would give myself a shot. But as the process started going, I thought maybe I can get drafted. And I got told by a couple of guys that had been around that, you have a shot. And I started getting calls from teams during the draft, and I was okay. But the Colts kept constant, tabs on me, and they kept building rapport. So right after the draft, they said, we want to bring you in when this lockout's over. We want to give you a shot to be the punt returner here. My agent tried to advise me to go to Canada. And I said, hey, or immediately I said, hey, I've been getting calls. He said, oh no, you got to go to Canada. You got to. I said, well, I guess you haven't been on this conversation, these phone calls, but I kind of heard, what was going on. And maybe he's been in the business longer than me. He thought, no, there's no way. Lockout was over, got a call from the coach, boom, got signed. It was perfect. I said, damn, I was right. They just kept building rapport. And as I'm getting on the plane to go to Indianapolis, North Turner calls me and he says, David, get off the plane, come to San Diego. I think he was the offensive coordinator, maybe the head coach at the time. Actually, another thing about it. He was the head coach for the San Diego Chargers. He says, get off the plane. We want you to come to San Diego. I said, come on. I mean, I know North Turner. I love North Turner because he was a Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator in all the Super Bowls. I was a huge Cowboys fan. I said, no, I gotta, I never heard from you, coach, this whole time. What was going on? And now that I think about it, where were the touch points within sales? Where was the building rapport? But I said, no, I gotta go, and the rest is history. Ended up doing pretty well with the Colts, and I had to make the best decision. But if I would have made a decision with my heart, I would have went with North Turner because I grew up a Cowboy fan, or I would have went to Canada because, hey, I got my agent over here, which I ended up going with somebody else later on.
Yeah. So the NFL dream comes to an end. You're transitioning out of the NFL, and you start working at a gym. Tell us that story.
Yeah. So I moved to LA in 2013, and I wanted to be done with ball, and I thought, well, how do I build my network here? How do I start to meet people? Where do I go? What do I do? I didn't know. Looking back now, I wish I would have tapped into the Badger network immediately, but I just did what I knew best. I said, I'm going to go meet people. So I got a job at a really high-end gym in LA called Equinox, and I'm not sure if they're in Wisconsin. I don't think they are.
No, I don't think so, but Chicago has it as well, right?
Yep, Chicago, New York, LA. They're pretty high-end gym, expensive, really good towels though. I don't think it's worth the money though, but that's really good eucalyptus towels. But I said, all right, I'm gonna get a job here at Beverly Hills Equinox. I'm gonna meet some people. So stars are coming in and all this and this and that. Next thing you know, I met, who was still a really good friend of mine today, a guy that owned a jewelry company there at this Equinox. And we had also had a good relationship, and 2 years later, I asked him, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity, to get into business. I don't know how, what exactly you do, or, but I'm willing to learn. I'll start from scratch. I do this for free, all that stuff. And he did a really good job of just teaching me, the ins and outs. I meet like from the how they manufacture it, the distribution, the import, the export, the sales, the prioritizing metal. I learned it all from scratch. So that's where I went to. It's a longer story than that, but I got denied a lot of jobs along the way, but I started doing that.
And then how'd you transition from there to where you're at today?
So like I said, I got denied a lot of jobs along the way. To get into start with that jewelry. So I got a lot of practice with a lot of interviews. So I knew exactly what they wanted to hear, what I had to say, how I tell my story. There was a networking event in Minnesota with the Timberwolves. Sorry, there was a networking event in Minnesota, but it had the Timberwolves, the Vikings, the Twins. I think the Gophers might have been there, the Minnesota Lynx. All the Minnesota sports people. And I said, well, I got to get up there and I got to just go and see who I meet, whatever. And they get to pay $65 to get a ticket to go there, but it came with a Timberwolves ticket. Okay, cool, whatever. I don't need to go to the game, just need to get there. So there was about a list of 20 people going to be at this event. And I circled about 3 names that I needed to talk to. One was the director of business development with the Timberwolves. I got in there. There's so many people. I couldn't even talk to anybody at that time. There was just too many people. I might have spoken to 2 or 3 people, got a couple of business cards. But as I'm walking through the game, I finally got in the game. I said, well, I guess I'll just email these couple of business cards when I'm done. I look over and I'm walking through and I see Scott Hebert, who was the director of business development, which was on my list. So I dropped my things, tightened my suit back up because I took my tie off and everything, put it back on, wrapped it up, ran over to him and said, hey, I gave him my best elevator pitch at the time. I said, hey, my name is David Gilreath. I went to the University of Wisconsin, played in the NFL, jewelry business. I just want to get my foot in the door here, blah, blah, blah. He emailed me the next day with the manager, sales manager, and 6 interviews later, I was hired as a consumer sales rep executive for the Timberwolves in the front office. So it was crazy. Kind of crazy.
Well, that's awesome. So I want to key on a couple things that you did there that a lot of people don't do. You first studied who was going to be there. A lot of times these organizers of these events will give you the list if you ask. So for some people out there that may be going to a networking event or may have some ambitions like you did to network with high-end people like that, get the list ahead of time, go with a plan, circle a couple of people that you want to talk to, then seek those people out. Now, like you said, it didn't necessarily work out as planned, but God has his way of working, and you end up, putting yourself back together to go shake that person's hand and shoot your shot, right? So, and then taking that chance and then putting your best foot forward. So you talked about how people, be presenting your most authentic self, but also presenting yourself as a winner. So what was the dichotomy there? How do you go about doing that? Or how would you advise people going?
To present yourself as a winner to like that director at that time?
Yeah.
Well, at that time, I just told him my story. I thought that was the best way I could do it. I just said, hey, I think he was talking to somebody within the organization at the time, the Timberwolves. And I just said, hey, excuse me, my name's David. Could I have a moment with you? And just, yeah, sure. So you have to be obviously kind and respectful of his time and what he was doing. But I said, hey, could I have a moment with you? He said, yeah. And I just told him my story. I just said, hey, my name's David. And just in order from college to professional, and just telling what I was seeking and what I was willing to do. And I told him I didn't really have much of a direction as far as I'd never been in the front office before, so I didn't know how that worked or what the direction. I just said, hey, I want to come in and work hard. I have this experience. I just want to get my foot in the door. Would love to work under you. Whatever. So I just told my story, and he said, okay. Let me have your resume. I think looking back and knowing this guy Scott, he just liked the effort of being able to go in there and I guess get past the gatekeeper. There's different, get past the gatekeeper and have that pitch and be prepared and I was presentable. So I think that all kind of tied into what happened. It all kind of.
And you listed your resume.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, for sure.
You really, in a real succinct manner said, hey, played at UW, played in the NFL, looking for my next opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to meet you, so you didn't expect anything from them, but you're going in there to shoot your shot, and you quickly listed your resume, not the full extent of it, but you had
Yeah.
some highlights there, right?
Yeah. Would that be
So
called elevator pitch maybe?
yeah, I like the
Yeah.
elevator pitch verbiage, but there's part of it there that said, hey, these are some of the successes that I've had,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking for that next spot.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you're assuming that what he has to offer is that next spot, but he said, give me your resume, and then you go from there, and then you guys mutually decide if that's going to be a best fit for you or not. But that's so
Yeah. I had no clue.
maybe someone's story is that they didn't play in college or they didn't play in the NFL. Maybe their story is, hey, I went to college, I blew up my knee and was unable to play anymore, but this is how I worked my way back and was able to graduate college, maybe to earn that scholarship. I graduated with 2 degrees because I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
playing football anymore. Like maybe your resume is something totally different where you didn't get to the NFL, but being able to list that off in a succinct manner in an elevator pitch like that, like you said, is really important to have your story down so pat that you can just list it off
Yeah.
like that.
If you can just list your highlights or your bullet points, and there's way more, better stories than just playing in the NFL. There's guys and women that, hey, I went to college and I was able to obtain 2 degrees while taking care of my mom, or I got this job, and I tore up my knee and I still got this opportunity, whatever it may be, to highlight to that person that you're speaking to. Tells a lot, because I don't think I brushed over the NFL part. It was more, hey, college, NFL, yeah, but then I got into business while getting denied this job or whatever, whatever you have to tell your story. That's more unique to you than it is to anybody else at that time.
Oh, it's awesome. So I want to wrap up today with the word game like we talked about. You ready for that?
I think so.
You think so? All right.
I think so. All right, let's go.
All right. So again, to remind the audience, to remind David, I'm going to spit out one word, and he's going to give us his gut response, and he can't repeat himself. All right. Here we go. Pain.
Super Bowl loss.
Power.
The TV show. This is
That's
the
good.
first one that I think of. Yeah.
Yeah. First thing that came to mind, right?
Yeah.
Travel.
Exposure.
Image.
Is it image?
Yeah.
There's a word I'm looking for and I can't. Reshape. Or rebrand.
Brand. Okay, rebrand. You like it. Trust.
Problem.
Oh, tell me more.
I guess that's more personal. Just I think that trust has been a big issue, with as I was growing up and things, and personally. So I'm just thinking that's the first word that came to mind. We all have our stories, and I think it shaped the person I am. And I've had problems in relationships, or maybe not having problems with this person, or not trusting. There's people. I'm trying to think of the unique story, but I didn't have a financial advisor in the NFL because I didn't trust the people that the NFL was dishing off to us. There's different things. That's why.
Oh, that's good. It was just a unique response that I didn't anticipate with the word trust. So I thought I'd stop there and ask a little bit, but no, that's good.
Yeah.
It's interesting. All right. So a few more. Relationships.
Important.
Money.
Not real.
Not real.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Success.
It's your story, I guess I would say. Your story, whatever. Yeah, that's one word.
No, that's good.
Your story.
That's good. You can use 2 words, short phrase. Just can't be a paragraph.
Story. My bad.
All right. Inspire.
That's me, I guess. That's what I would like to do. So I'm trying to think.
Good.
How would I say, me or self?
Yeah.
For one. Yeah. I had a. There was 100 things you would like to do, and I wrote, is it 100 things you would like to do before you die? It was on a mural.
Yeah.
And one thing I wrote was inspire. Kind of crazy.
Who do you want to inspire?
The masses, I guess, or honestly, people that look like me, you know, people of color. I think there's a lot of guys and girls that, you know, in my position that haven't done the things I've done. And I'm not talking about football. I'm just meaning just move, travel, and, you know, getting into business. I just think there's a niche there, and it's important that we have people that look like me in those positions, so representation matters to me. So
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah.
And I think that you're doing a good job of that already, to pay you a compliment, and to bring you back to Madison to have a bigger impact on that at the university and in the business community. You're going to do big things. So last word, impact.
The first thing I thought of was player, because there'd be this NCAA football game they used to have impact players. You had 3 on each team, and you had to be an impact player. But
well, you got to be an impact player in life.
Yeah, I would hope to be an impact player in life. Yeah, going forward, an impact business guy. So
that's great. We can find Chad can help with the branding on that for you.
All right. I got you.
That's so good. All right.
Sorry about that. I wish I would have, you know, damn. So many things came to my mind. I wanted to be careful with it. That's why I'm like, even trust. I said, well, a lot of things came to my mind, but the one that stuck out was problem.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It was unique. Yeah. We got to talk a little bit about it. All right. So favorite book of all time, or most recently read book that you want to shout out?
I would encourage everyone to read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. He's the creator of Nike. So right away he talks about his travels and how much that inspired everything he did. Throughout the book, he talks about how, you know, he relates everything back to his travels. Even the Nike swoosh, I'm sure people have, you know, heard about it, but it was a trip to Greece that the Temple of Nike relationship that he has. He's like, they reminded me of that time of hiking in that mountain in, you know, Nepal or something. So being a travel person, I love that part. But Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Gladwell. That's a really good book.
That's good.
Yeah. Mark Cuban, Mark Cuban, I forget what it's called. The Sport of Business, I believe it's called.
Okay, we'll look that up as well.
He just seems like he was a regular guy that just had some ambition, got a couple of jobs along the way that he just wanted to learn. He was like, I'm getting paid to learn. This is not what I want to do, but I'm getting a couple of jobs to figure out what I want to do. And he seems like a regular guy that got into some kind of software tech sales, and he just seems like not an out of this world Mark Zuckerberg type of guy. Like, people could become Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
It's harder to become.
I agree.
Yeah.
So how does the audience follow you or get in touch with you?
I'm pretty active on Instagram. So
what's the handle?
Tag, it's just David Gilreath, at David Gilreath.
Easy enough.
Yeah. I'm pretty active on there. A little bit of Twitter, so I guess I would be at David Gilreath 18. So I made that back when I was with the Steelers. I'm pretty active on there. Just, I like to share my kind of visual story. It's kind of, I guess my tag is visual art. So if you get a chance, go ahead and follow.
No, we will. We'll follow. We encourage the audience to follow as you continue to build your brand and have that impact and inspire the masses, like you said. Really wanted to appreciate you for taking the time today, David. This was awesome conversation. I know it's going to impact the business community, the student athletes at UW and abroad. So really thank you for taking the time today. Any parting words on your end?
I guess it's Tuesday. You got to go out and vote.
Go vote.
Say, if you haven't voted, go out and vote. It's important.
It is.
No matter who you vote for, just vote.
That's the only thing we can control is our vote. Yeah. And after that, we have to accept whatever the nation has decided. So
yeah. If you've done your part, a lot of people have fought and died, and just to get the opportunity, it's a privilege. So at least do your part. So.
Well, again, thank you so much, David. We will sign off from here. Inspire and impact this week, everyone.